Are you being too generic with your messaging and your prospecting? So this one's going to elevate your prospecting game. I can guarantee you that. I've been on both sides of this. Unfortunately, it took me quite a few years to figure out the power of making this shift. But you see so many salespeople fail, and whether it's in the insurance space or really any industry, but just sales in general. I've worked alongside people for about a couple decades now, and you see the mass majority of salespeople prospecting with very generic messaging, and I think you're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall hoping something sticks, right? You've got very generic messaging that really doesn't speak specifically to any particular audience or particular problem. And there's so much power in being able to communicate, whether it's by phone or by email or however you're prospecting. When you deliver that message and you're trying to schedule that appointment or generate interest with your prospect, the more specific you can be, the better. The more specific with your messaging. And to be able to do that, it helps tremendously the more specific you can be with your audience. And so I'll give a couple examples of that. And I'm thinking about it from the HRO perspective, right? And we're delivering HR and payroll solutions to our clients. And so, what I've seen for years and what I would say is very generic and very low conversion. And a lot of people get discouraged because they're blasting out tons of emails and phone calls and barely scheduling any appointments, because they'll send out messages to they'll go into their sales prospecting tool and pull a list of random companies, all different types of industries possibly, or maybe a handful of different industries they narrow it down to, but companies in a certain zip code radius and with 10 to 300 employees. And then they're sending out emails that are like, hey, we're a HR firm here in Houston, and, we help our clients, reduce costs and consolidate vendors and really put all things in one place as far as payroll and HR. Like, that's a good example of what I would say is a very generic message. Versus where we personally here at HRO have had a ton of success with our email campaign efforts because we're able to be very specific. And so some examples of that might be, I know that I've got a list of my competitor. I can, there's a lot of different ways to build lists, but I know I can go and resource or generate a specific list of companies who I know are using a particular competitor. And so they're using ABC company for my same services. I know when that company renews. I know what that company's current strengths and weaknesses are, and I know where their prospects are most commonly frustrated. And then I can send emails to an audience who I know who they are. I know exactly who they're using. I know when they renew their contracts. I know where they're most likely to be frustrated with that current partner. So then I can create messaging that's very specific to those pain points for that particular target audience. And then your conversion rates explode through the roof versus what you would see through generic messaging. Thinking about it from maybe like an insurance agency perspective, it could be that, you're targeting a particular niche. Maybe it's, I know that I'm going to target, instead of just kind of emailing a random list of a whole bunch of companies about, hey, we're a commercial insurance agency and we can help you, with all your coverage needs. I mean, you see a bunch of messaging like that. Doesn't work. Luck when you do. Instead, you may think about it like a particular industry, let's say consumer packaged goods. So we're going after startup CPG companies. And I know that startup CPG companies, if they're trying to get their product in stores in certain big chain grocery stores, then I know there are some very specific coverages that they're going to need to make that happen, that are going to be required of them. So then I can launch a campaign to that specific audience. They're all startup CPG companies, and I know that they need these things, so I can speak specifically to those needs that I know are timely and urgent and meaningful. And again, you're going to see your conversion rates go through the roof. So stop being generic. It's a great way to burn yourself out, or just live in a place where you're constantly discouraged because your results are not where you want them to be, or they're very sporadic. Be intentional with your prospecting. Take the time to do the legwork and the research on the front end. Build quality lists. Be specific and intentional with who you're targeting. Understand, build a buyer persona for the person that you're targeting, right? Understand what's important to them, what matters to them, what their wants are, what their pain points are, and then create very specific messaging that speaks to what's important to them, and you'll see a tremendous increase in your results. Hope this helps. Have a blessed week.